What's up, guys? Welcome back to Bourbon Blind. I'm Kyle. We got Bryant with us again. Always a fun guy, super knowledgeable. So, couple things we're going to be talking about. We got news today, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen it already. Dave Pickerell has passed away, which is a tremendous loss. He was actually at an event that he was supposed to be going to this weekend and ended up passing away. They're still looking into it. Don't know what happened. Doesn't matter. Just very, very sad loss for the industry. He did 14 years at Maker's Mark and kind of turned that around. After he did 14 years at Maker's Mark, he started consulting with over 250 different distilleries, breweries, all kinds of stuff. And Yeah. I mean, he knew so much. You know what I mean?
I believe he was a West Point grad too. He was. If I remember that from an interview that he did. So obviously very accomplished, served his country, and huge impact on modern American whiskey, and helping with Maker's Mark. When they were fighting the good fight back in the Glut era. And bringing the spirit that we all love back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can even argue that he started a lot of this bourbon revolution and stuff that we're seeing right now with what he did at Maker's Mark and kind of bringing bourbon sexy. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Yeah, he did. He was helping out all kinds of people with consulting and different yeast strains and mash bills and just everything. I know he did a lot of work for like WhistlePig, and he was working on the new Metallica Blackened.
Yep.
Which I still need to try. And actually, I saw that on the Blackened, his name is more prominent on there than Metallica's is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I thought that was pretty crazy. You know what I mean?
I'll have to give it a run when it shows up down here.
I want to. I mean, if he was involved with it, I mean, it should be good. So,
yeah.
Not like I don't think he was involved with what's the fighter's name? Just came out with the Irish whiskey, Proper 12.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Conor McGregor. Yeah. So I've heard that was not the greatest.
It's 80 proof Irish whiskey. Take from that what you will.
Right. I don't know. There's some Irish whiskeys that I like. I usually like it more than Scotch, but and I mean, just reading articles and stuff from him and interviews and all kinds of stuff. I mean, everyone was saying how generous Dave Pickerell was. You know what I mean? Just an all around good guy. So that's kind of a sad.
Absolutely. For obviously his loved ones and his family, our condolences, and the industry as a whole. And I know when I'm hearing him talk at Bourbon and Beyond, or the recent festival in Louisville when the Russells were supposed to be on the stage and they had a death in the family, and hearing Dave and some other industry guys get up there and talk about the Russells, it was always seemed to be about the whiskey and the other people, and he'll be missed, that's for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Speaking of Irish whiskey, the Mash and Drum Jason, who I was hanging out with at the Four Roses 130th release. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't checked out the Mash and Drum channel, please go do that. Super knowledgeable guy, really nice, fun channel, really well produced. Definitely a must watch. So, but anyway, he said that the Proper 12 is a great bathroom cleaner. If that tells you anything.
I'll take his word for it.
Right. So anyway, we also wanted to talk about barrel proof whiskeys and are they worth it?
Yes.
Speaking of which, let's go ahead and start off some Stag Junior.
Absolutely. I've got the 129.5. I don't know if that's within the last one or two couple releases, I think.
Mine's the 130.0, which is, I think, from a couple years ago.
They don't number them, but I think some guys on Straight Bourbon and other places like that keep a pretty tight tabs on what's what.
There it is.
So, and for anybody following along at home, we'll be referencing Wade Woodard. If y'all aren't familiar with him, check his blog out at Tater Talk. He is the whiskey consumer's best friend. He has called into account a lot of people with shady labeling practices. So all that TTB stuff that Wade's done a lot of work on that. I've never met him. I don't know him from Adam's Cap, but he has been an advocate for the whiskey consumer, and we're all better for it. But he put out a pretty.
He's on the Bourbon Community Roundtable with Bourbon Pursuit and Bourboner and those guys.
Yep. And he's got a blog called tatertalk.com if anybody hadn't heard about it or is curious. But he put out a list, and he actually did the math, which is more than I could do, of taking cask strength offerings, comparing them to their standard offerings, so a 1792 small batch to a 1792 full proof, and then looking what is the premium charged for getting it, at cask strength or very, very near cask strength.
So here, what I can do, and for you guys at home that want to take a closer look at this, I put the link in the description. But for right now, I actually, here we go. So this is what Bryant's talking about. So Brian, you want to talk about this? And
yeah, it's pretty interesting. And there are some on here that there's a pretty massive premium. Angel's Envy cask strength seems to be the biggest. I don't know, offender is not the word we want to use, but regular Angel's Envy in my market's a $52 bottle, and then the Angel's Envy cask strength being limited, you'll see it for $190 or even above that. And then there's some that are doing pretty well. Wild Turkey Rare Breed compared to 101 or Russell's Reserve 10-year is not that much of a markup at all. So Maker's Mark cask strength. Speaking of Dave Pickerell earlier, not too bad. But his WhistlePig, there is a pretty significant markup on that. So, but that's another show to talk about. So. But enough of the spreadsheet. You want to talk about the whiskey? Stag Junior's one that I've.
All right. You guys still there? Can you see me? If so, someone just say yes in the chat. Hey, what's up, man?
All right. Yeah, I don't know what happened to us.
I do. I forgot to plug my laptop in.
That'll do her each and every time.
So if you guys can see us in the chat, just go and someone say yes, or we can see you, something like that. Okay, awesome. Yes, we're back. I apologize about that, guys. I got my laptop charger out, and I totally forgot to plug in my laptop. So technical errors, if you will. So anyway, you were talking about Angel's Envy cask strength.
Yeah, so I think that's where that's one of the ones that there's a very, very much a large premium. Part of that's, it being a limited edition. A lot of these cask strengths are
the Boss Hog.
Yeah, Boss Hog is insane, and it's still stacked up like cordwood in my market. And I'm glad they put it in the case, because if it was on the shelf, knowing me, I'd knock one over and have to pay somebody $500 to clean up a broken bottle of bourbon. Or rye or whatever.
They have it on sale at my local for $600. They're so generous. And it's been there for over a year. Like, you guys should probably just go ahead and put that at retail, because no one's still going to buy it.
I can't justify spending that much on that.
But if we look at some of the good ones, you got Old Granddad, which is
Old Granddad
where it should be.
Absolutely.
Jefferson's Ocean, which I always thought was weird. The regular Oceans is like $80, and the cast strength is like 90 or 100, which to me is a no-brainer if you're going to spend that much money.
Yeah, absolutely. Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Obviously, you and I are pretty big turkey guys. You did your recent Rare Bird review. There's not that much of a markup on it. The 101's just hard to beat, isn't it? It just it's always good. I mean, like I said, the link is down in the description for you guys, so go ahead and check that out. And go ahead and play around with it. It's fun. So, I mean, there's definitely, like, we're saying, the Four Roses picks are pretty. The Knob Creek 120 proof single barrel. If you find a good barrel of that at $42, it's pretty damn hard to beat. Some of them get a little oaky for me, but that's neither here nor there for this conversation.
I've actually been a lot bigger on the Knob Creek single barrels as of recently. I mean, they're around here. They're like $40 again for 120 proof.
At least 9 years old, often 11,
12-year-old
13, bourbon. 14. Yeah.
I know one of my local stores is getting in a 14.5-year pick.
Oh, wow.
So I'm excited for that. I'm going to try that.
And Knob Creek's getting a reboot. There was some TTB stuff, new labels and neck tags and all that. So I'm sure they're still going to have that crumbly ass wax that makes a huge mess every time you open one up. I guess it's not Knob Creek without the wax. But so what do we think about this Stag Junior, Kyle?
I like it. Like I said, mine's a different batch than yours is, and yours is different than mine, obviously. I get like a lot of cherries on mine. I don't know about.
I was about to say that. That's one consistent note I've kind of gotten from Stag, and it really took me a while to warm up to this bottle. When I first got it, maybe it's just it kind of took me a while to get to that proof because I don't. All the ones we're about to review for you guys here tonight are all 127 plus, which is generally a little higher than what I like. Obviously Roses and Russells is kind of more up my alley. But this is a nice pour. But again, I think MSRP on it's like what, $59, and you'll go into a store and you'll see it for $109, and it's just no.
I think around here the lowest I've seen is like 63 or 65, which is usually about what they sit at. There's a store not far from me. It's got a case of it sitting on the shelf. They got a couple cases of Sazerac sitting on the shelf.
Oh wow!
Baby Saz, the Buffalo Trace is actually getting harder to find around here. They got a couple cases of that sitting on the shelf. Like I said, like 3 or 4 of the Angel's Envy cast strength, they're like $180. 180, 190 sitting on the shelf. So
that's just that. There's a certain past 150. It better be a damn special bottle for me to open up for that.
Right. No, I agree completely. I mean, again, when you have things like Elijah Craig, Booker's, Stag Junior, the Knob Creek, that kind of stuff, more or less sitting on the shelf. I mean, it's really hard to justify, like you said, spending more than $150
on that.
Yeah,
I'd agree. But this was nice. It's got a nice finish on it. Again, I don't want to say cherry Coke, but kind of almost like those chocolates your grandma had where you'd poke a hole in the bottom of it to see what it was, to see if you wanted to eat it, and you'd put it back in the box if you didn't like it and leave it for your cousin or whatever.
Right.
That's kind of what this reminds me of.
Yeah, I mean, I get a little bit of like wood and oak in there, but not
And it's supposed to be, I think, 9 to 11 years from. I mean, I know Buffalo Trace. I mean, they keep all that stuff locked up like Fort Knox as far as age statements and mash bill and all that other stuff. But it's supposed to be have a fair amount of age on it.
Right.
So.
I thought it was less than. I thought it was like 6 to 9 year.
Really? It's not overly oaky. That's not something. It's not something I get. And it's obviously, Buffalo Trace Mash Bill 1, which is their lower rye mash bill, and it does kind of lack that spice and bite that I get on the back of my palate. That's something that I like.
Or even kind of that full bodiness of like a well-aged rye.
Correct.
So, I don't know. It's good.
I like it. I don't dislike it, but it's not one that if I see it at a great price, I have to walk out of the store with it.
Yeah, like I said, it's okay sitting on the shelf, and I just passed it up. I mean, I got 3, 4, maybe 5 of them sitting around. So
yeah.
And actually, the one that I grabbed, I don't know if you can see this. 60 hours in a oak spiral.
Wow.
Those little charred oak spirals.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I was playing around with those. So this is actually the bottle that I had. So that actually, we're probably totally not drinking the same thing at all.
It's all right.
That could be where a little bit of that oakiness comes from.
So you want to go to our Mash Bill 2 offering from this lineup?
Let's do it.
So I don't have a bottle this Blanton straight from the barrel. This is a true first review. I've never had straight from the barrel. I've had gold before. We've talked about. This is barrel 796, warehouse H, obviously Rick 52, 127 proof. So we'll see what all the fuss is about.
Dumped on 9/19 of 17, so just over a year ago.
Okay.
Fresh, more or less fresh open though. Barrel 1622, 130.6 proof. So
I'm not getting that. Nosing this, I'm not getting 127. It's a muted. I mean, you're getting your classic, everything that you should get.
I think the last one that I had, it didn't drink quite like 100. I think it was like 127 ish, 126, 127, something like that. Mash and Drum said on his, he was drinking some Stag Junior with us. He said super cherry vanilla and barrel tar on the nose. At least on his. Dave from Rarebird's in here. What's up, Dave?
Sorry, there's no turkey, Dave.
There isn't any turkey on.
Hopefully he doesn't disown me.
He's going to be mad at both of us, just so you know. Oh my gosh.
This has a better palate than those, for sure.
Night and day. Oh my gosh. So, lots of vanilla for me.
Lots of vanilla, and it's got a big finish.
Almost like a cracker. Like a vanilla cracker, if that makes sense. No, I'm not making fun of myself. That is just night and day from that Stag Junior. You've
got more spice. You've got that. It's got some bite on the end of the palate right before the finish goes, and then the finish it really opens up. It's got a nice Kentucky hug on it.
So there's vanilla wafers.
This is good.
Yeah. Dave said, when you said hopefully it doesn't know it's disown you, said okay, bye. He's a keep. But so there's some people that say that this is the 6th BTAC. And I know we probably shouldn't say that too loud because it is semi-easy to get at this point as long as you don't mind paying shipping from Europe.
Yeah, I was about to say that's where it bites you.
See, the key is you go in with like 3 or 4 friends and order like 4 or 5, 6 of them, and it's really not bad. It's like $80, $90 per bottle per person.
That's what I did with the Blanton's Gold. I think I ordered 4 or 5 bottles, and we kind of split the shipping, and it ended up being about $90-something a bottle. And for whatever, it's 70, whatever. If this was on the shelf for 70, it's probably one that I'd
all day long.
Keep around.
Even at $80, I would keep it around. Actually, Dave brought up a good point. He said it can't be BTAC. It's not owned by Buffalo Trace.
Yep. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but apparently the whole Mash Bill 2 thing is, I guess, Age International, and Buffalo Trace contract distills for them. I don't know if they also own the other Mash Bill 2, Rock Hill Farms and Hancock's and Elmer. I don't know if they own Elmer or not.
From the way I understand it, and I could be completely wrong, feel free to correct me. When Buffalo Trace acquired the Blanton's name, that was part of the contract, was that, these countries got this version, these countries got that version. So apparently that's all pretty set in stone, and we can
really
this state's goodbye.
It's just not happening. Okay. All right.
Dave said they own all of the second mash bill. They own all.
Really interesting.
Age International.
There you go. So, I guess that's why that stuff's just harder to find down here. I don't know.
And just cherry, leather, wood, char, vanilla.
I'm getting a little tobacco on mine. And I don't get that very often. That's a tasting note that I see a lot, but I don't get. I don't get leather very often either. But I've never really tasted it. So
Brian's actually the one that suggested this for tonight's lineup, and I'm glad he did, because this isn't one that I get down very often, just because they are so hard to replace.
Yep.
So usually it sits right in here somewhere. It's got a hole.
In full disclosure, I was looking down this list from Wade, and I'm like, just finished it and haven't replaced it, or don't have it. I was having to dig through my sample bag, and a fellow Rarebird patron in New York, who we've traded bottles and traded samples. He was very generous with this, and I'm glad I finally got to have a reason to open it and talk about it.
Yeah, you can see where this and the gold this is just on a whole nother level. Like,
I think I might have liked the gold a little more than this, and it took me a long time to warm up to that bottle of gold that I had. Again, at the end of the day, you and I are opening our wallets or putting our debit card down either at a store or at an online merchant or whatever, and you're having to pay X amount, to get this. So while I like this, is it one that I need to? When this is gone or when my gold is gone, is this one that I've got to jump on Master of Malt or whoever and get another one? Again, if it was available here and I didn't have to jump through any hoops, but the fact that I've got to not just me order one, 3 of my friends want to order one. We got to get it through whoever. You got to get it through FedEx, and it's
right.
I don't know if it's worth the hassle. It's good, but I don't think it's worth the hassle.
It used to be you could get these on secondary for like $100 to $110. Which
what are they doing? Are you on Facebook?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm not on the Facebook, which is probably a good thing because I'd spend even more money than
it's a total waste of time and money
than I do already. But so what's secondary on that now? Like if
I'm like
140. 140?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, if you look at some of the other stuff that's out there, I mean, that's not crazy.
No.
You know what I mean? I would take this at $150 over Pappy 15, Pappy 20, whatever.
Okay. Would you take it over Four Roses 130th?
For the same price?
Yeah.
Probably not.
That's what Jim Rutledge might be watching. I just want you to know that.
The Four Roses it's more well balanced,
Yeah.
But one thing this has over the Four Roses is that kind of barrel proof punch you in the face kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But this didn't and I don't want to seem like I'm overly harsh on this. For 127, this didn't drink like 127 at all to me. It some of these, and especially this Elijah Craig we're about to get to, I've had it open for about 10 or 15 minutes now. But sometimes when you nose those 125, 130, and it's just, even for people that drink cask strength bourbon on a somewhat regular basis, it's still a lot of alcohol bloom on that nose and on the finish. And that didn't drink 127 to me.
So here's a question. This is totally off topic. What are you drinking in? What kind of glass?
Oh, these are just Glencairns. I've got, I don't know. I bought a box of them to do tasting with friends and family, and then you join this Patreon group or here or whatever, and then you end up getting just random glassware, and I've given a lot of mine away, as a present, or somebody, you invite them over and they've never had it, and they like it, so I'll send them home with a bottle that they liked and a glass, so they can enjoy it. Because really, the best thing about this to me is sharing it with friends. And getting together, whether it's me and you doing this, or texting with your bourbon thread with your buddies, hey, what are you buying? What you drinking? Or getting together for bottle swaps. That's really what I enjoy. And somebody that's always like bourbon and ginger, but they've never sat down and had anything neat, and giving them a couple different,
or when they back in high school, and it was Wild Turkey 101, or whatever the case would be. And they're like, oh, that stuff is horrible, and you're like, you should probably sit down with it for a few minutes, and you'd be surprised.
Yep, I was in Jacksonville this past weekend. For anybody that's a college football fan, for Florida Georgia. It's my favorite weekend of the year. And one of my friends was there, and he'd lived in Sonoma County, California for a long time. Sommelier trained, excellent palate, and sat down with some bourbons, and just watching him kind of go through and getting a really nice Russell's Reserve pick, or getting I think I gave him an OESK or OESV, that he was just like, this is phenomenal, the depth and layers and da-da-da-da. I'm like, that's, Four Roses, pretty damn good.
Right. I had a buddy over that he's new to bourbon and kind of wants to get into it. And so I was letting him try a couple different things. And I was like, well, let me try this. And when I say when he tasted stuff, I mean, he, what I mean? I was pouring little
yeah.
Just to kind of see what he likes, kind of thing.
Yeah. Keep your water droppers handy too.
Right. And I gave him the Four Roses yellow label, and he was kind of like, yeah. And then I gave him the small batch, and he was like, that's pretty good. And I gave him the single barrel, and he was like, wow, this is really, really good. This is amazing. And I was like, and it's 20 proof higher points than the yellow label.
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel like it at all.
No, but you're getting more of that flavor. It's weird, because I do the same thing when I was first kind of getting into this, and it was kind of the blind leading the blind. People say, hey, you put some bourbon stuff on Instagram, and you'd think, I don't want to blow anybody's doors off. I don't want to pour anything too hot. So you're trying to keep everything at 90 or below. And I'd finish my, I would do like, Maker's Old Forester or like Maker's Buffalo Trace and Old Forester, or just regular 86 proof Old Forester, or something like that. You want to do a wheater, kind of a low rye, and then a classic, and then maybe a high rye like a Four Roses small batch. And they're like, okay, I like that. And I'm like, and they're like, well, what do you like? And you're like, well, here, try this Russell's, try this Four Roses barrel. I'm like, well, why didn't we start with that? You're like, why, man, I ain't gonna put you on 117 straight out of the gate. But it's really interesting how if people kind of come to it with an open mind, and they try something that's really rich and layered, and it's got those flavors that we all like, and then they try it next to an 80 proof, and they're like, that's just kind of
so here's
a little bit of a hot mess.
This barrel proof kind of segment. One thing I can't stress to people enough: if you're just getting started, stay away from the barrel proof. Just stay away. I know that's what everyone talks about online, and that's what everyone, that's where all the hype is and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, if you want to get one or two and try it out, cool.
Absolutely.
I mean? But when I started out, I couldn't tell the difference between Stag Junior and Booker's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was trying them side by side, and I was like, they're both really hot. Like
it's just gas.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. Like at that point, like your palate's not adjusted to it. You can't.
No,
I think, oh, I like this, but like it's really hard to discern those flavors when you don't have that frame of reference, that starting point. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I can remember. I can tell you exactly. This was 2005. I was out of college for a few years. I wasn't married yet. And I remember, I drank a bunch of bourbon and gingers. Elijah Craig 12 and ginger. I drank enough to float a battleship. And I remember, like, I'm going to get into good bourbon. And I bought a bottle of Booker's, and I tried to drink it neat. And I tried it for 6 months. I'm like, not every day, but, yeah. Like, all right, I'm going to try this Booker's again. And I, pour it neat. And it was, and going back, Jesus, if I could go get Booker's from 2005, that was probably 7.5 or 8 years old. I'm sure it was what I would now consider to be really, really good.
Yeah, at that point, like, you know what I mean? But compared to the 6.5, what it is now.
There wasn't the online resources. I didn't have a friend who was into it. I didn't have a Glencairn. You know what I mean? I just poured in a rocks glass and try and take a slug of it. And you do that now, and you're gonna, have a poor reaction to it. So people that are just coming into the hobby now, or the last 3, 4, 5 years or whatever, like there's so many resources now. How do you do this?
There is, but you have to filter. You have to filter out the chatter from the information.
Yep.
Like, everyone's like, "Oh, Stag Junior, it's so good. You got to get some. You got to get some." Like,
it's just like BTAG. It's like
area. Then yeah, pick one up. But if you're used to drinking, Wild Turkey Longbranch or
Gentleman Jack,
Gentleman Jack, or the
more mainstream,
more mainstream, more basic stuff. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with a lot of that. I mean, they sell millions and millions of cases of it for a reason. You know what I mean? But like, so when I do competition pistol shooting as a hobby, not nearly as much as I like, but I do. And one of the things, like if you go take a class from from a professional, it's all about the basics. Like forget all that cool high speed stuff you see the commercials and the on. It's all about the fundamentals and the basics, because without that, like, you're just throwing money away.
Yeah.
And bourbon is the same way. Like if you don't have the basics down, if you don't have that frame of reference, then you're drinking, Stag Junior or Booker's, and you're like, oh, this is really hot, and I get a couple notes, but that's it. So
you kind of got to do your homework on this. I mean, I think, and it's one that you've kind of got to put a little bit of time into the tasting. And I found, and this is part of the reason that I kind of ended up on Four Roses and Wild Turkey, was, you first kind of get into it, and you're buying, 1 or 2 bottles here and there, but you never have a whole bunch open. You buy one, you drink it, then you go buy another one. And then you're kind of getting to the point where it's like, well, okay, every payday you're going and you're picking up 1 or 2 bottles, and you're getting more and more, in your cabinet. And most of us that are working and we're fathers, we're husbands, we have responsibilities. You just can't spend all your money on bourbon, just some of your money on bourbon.
But adult and stuff.
Yeah, it sucks sometimes.
This whole adult thing is bullshit.
Well, that, and I don't have the liver bandwidth for it, So I couldn't just drink everything that I wanted to try, So you kind of go through the stuff that you have open that you like, or you go to a bar and you try something, you go to a friend's, and it's like, try wheaters compared to, classic styles like, Beamer, Heaven Hill. Try the high rise stuff. What is it that you're more in tune with, and then kind of let your palate kind of guide you. And I know for me, it was, the first brand that I really, really fell in love with was Four Roses. I like the depth. I like the complexity. I like the 10 recipes. And I like the fact that I could get, cask strength single barrels for not a ton of money. I didn't have to, build a relationship with the store and all this other stuff. And then I stumbled on this Rarebird 101 website, and then, got down the turkey hole as well.
Rarebird101.com.
Yes.
Do it now.
So try a bunch of stuff, kind of find out what you like. And then I'm one of those people that my interests are an inch wide and a mile deep. So what I really, really like, I want to know all about it. I want to have it all. I want to try it all. So for me, it was kind of an easy decision to not, spend a bunch of money on secondary market on the really, really coveted bottles. And I've had some of them, and friends have shared them, and I've come across a few of them. But I'll be honest, some of the best stuff that I've ever had have been $60 or $65 store picks, and that I would put up against, anything that you'd want to pour.
I mean, that's not uncommon at all. I mean, when you see, I'm actually starting a spreadsheet of blind tasting that other people have done and the results of them and all that kind of stuff. And I'm still kind of fine tuning the rating system of it, but it's amazing to see when people are tasting stuff blind, like the Pappy and the whatever else, and the, like they really don't do all that well. Like you get.
Is this where we talk?
Being beaten out by Knob Creek, single barrel.
Is this where we talk about Lot B being completely pedestrian?
The Lot B and even the old.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're
no better than the 107 or the Weller 12. In all honesty, they're not any better.
And I was, and a friend of mine helped. He came on a Lot B. He had one the year before. He sold to me at cost, and it's cool. I'm glad I have it, but I get more enjoyment out of people coming over and looking at it, and they're like, "Is that a Van Winkle?" I'm like, "Yeah. Would you like some?" And they're like, "Really? You're gonna open? You're gonna pour?" Yeah, absolutely. You want to try it? Here you go. Try it, and then say, "Okay, try this." Ooh, that's got more of this. That's got more of that. I agree. I've had multiple OWA picks that I liked more than Old Rip and more than Lot B. Now 15 is really, really good. Friend of mine.
It is.
I haven't bought a bottle. I haven't come into it. I haven't spent the money on it. And the couple pours I've had have been, it's really, really special whiskey. I'm not taking anything away from it.
But I mean, that being said, I mean, it is not the end all be all though.
No.
You know what I mean? No. And it's one of those things like hey, just can't. Like if I go to someone's house, okay, and they have the Pappy 15 and the 20 and the 23 and it's all out there displayed, and hopefully it's even open. But, if I see a lot of that stuff, I'm like, okay, so you've got money, but do you really understand what is good bourbon? You know what I mean? Like if I go to someone's house and they have, a bunch of different store picks on the shelf, I'm much more impressed because obviously they know and they understand those little nuances, and you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I'd love to have Pappy again. I drank on my 20 year and I'd love to have it again. I really would. But that being said, like, is it really worth it? I mean, the whole bourbon hunting thing, is it?
Yep.
Is it still worth it? I mean, people are camping out at this point. Last time I got down to a store in Alabama, they save almost all of their allocated bourbon all year, and they release it on one day. They publicize it. It's on their Facebook. It's in their store. When you go in, they got, saying, hey, on this day, we're going to release all these bourbons and everything. And there were people there with a camper a week ahead of time. A week.
What?
Thanksgiving morning. They were.
Do they not have like jobs, family?
Right? Like,
it's just a bottle of whiskey.
So there was two of them. They both got the Pappy 23, and then there was two more people. They got the Pappy 15.
They went back to the camper and put it on Facebook.
And then they had one William LaRue Weller, which is what I was really hoping for. And the dude in front of me took it, and I got a George C. Stagg, which I'm not upset about.
No.
But I'm not going to camp outside for a week. It's not. It's just like you said. It's a bottle of whiskey. So
at the end of the day,
did you move on? By the way,
yeah. I'm on the Bookers. Sorry about that. I did kind of short pours.
So that was a heavy pour.
Yeah.
We both have the 2016-06 Booker's No Hard
Times. 6 years, 10 months. And it's been a minute since Booker's keeps trying to. Do you think we'll ever see a sub 6 year Booker's? Because it looks like we might be getting close in 3 or 4 more batches.
We might, but again, I was looking back through the last 5 or 10 years, and I didn't see anything much over 7.5 years or so, which I was kind of surprised to see.
I'd like it to be at least a 7 year. I mean, I know they say Booker like this, and they do it to profile, and they pull a bunch of different barrels and all this stuff. Booker's is obviously one that's just a landmark bourbon. That variant Booker and him promoting the small batch line. Bourbon wouldn't be where it is without Booker's, and this was one of the first, if not the first, uncut, unfiltered, non-chill filtered, barrel proof, straight from it. But if most folks do know, or if you don't, Beam went from this being a $49 bottle to a $99 bottle, and then they backed off to 70 something. I know it's 79 in my market. Like every store I go to in South Carolina, Booker's is $79.99. Like, not going to find it for anything less than that. Or if it is, I haven't found it.
So when I was looking into Booker's, they were saying that a couple of years ago it was like $50.
Yep, and absolutely. I remember
they started saying
up all day long for that.
Jim Beam started seeing all these premium bourbons coming out, and they raised the price to $100. And immediately people were fighting back. They're like, screw you.
Furious.
Yeah. And I'm don't blame them one bit.
Nope.
So they're like, oh, okay. So they came out with like a 5 or 7 year plan to slowly raise the price up to that $100 mark. So if you like Booker's, anybody watching, go ahead and pick up a couple bottles because the price is going up. So
yep.
On that.
And one of my favorite Bookers that I ever had, my brother, and he liked my Instagram post. I doubt he is watching this. He would be rolling his eyes if he was. He enjoys bourbon, but not like I do. He's not, didn't take the deep dive into it. But he had a bottle of Booker's that he'd had open for a while. It was at his house, and every time I was there, I'd kind of eye it and look at it, and never really get into it. But last December, I was there, and I was like, I want to take a run at that. And it had been open so long; it was from like 2011 or 2012. The cork broke, so I had to take it home and do the French press and all that stuff. People that do Dusties, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's what it was. He said he'd much rather be out hunting Dusties than standing in line for
absolutely
releases.
And I don't know if it was just because it'd been open for a little while. It was phenomenal. It was one of my favorite bourbons that I've ever had. I mean, it was just thick. It was, and it had all those classic bourbon flavors, but they were all turned up to 11. It had a great finish on it, but it didn't drink hot. And I think that's the key to what you really, really want in this cask strength stuff is you want those flavors, but you don't want it to just singe your hair.
That's where, we started with the Stag Junior, and it drank like 130 proof.
Yep.
And then you moved on to the Blantons,
and it didn't.
And mine was also 130.6 to 130.0 of the Stag, and So virtually the same proof, and it drank 20 proof points lower. Easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, one thing about the Bookers, though, that I can't find, but you know when you get the cards in the boxes and it says, hey, you know, this was pulled
from
14% from this warehouse and 2% from
this
warehouse and blah, blah, blah. So one thing they don't say is the age, at least not that I've seen.
Yeah, it would be they have to tell you what the youngest is. I would be very curious to hear what the oldest is, and obviously we've been talking about Ellie's and bourbon hunting because Booker's 30th is due to be coming out sometime this year, right? We're running out of year, but it was supposed to be 16 years old, and that's what they released it at, and then they came out and said I think it's like 9 and 16, and they had to. I guess with that 16, it was just too oaky. They had to put some younger stuff in there to balance it all out. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this: a 9-year-old Booker's at $99, I think is fair. I'll pay. For me, if I'm looking at cask strength, non-chill filtered bourbon, $10 a year is.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
That's not out of the realm of possibility. That's not unfair. But for a 6-year, 2-month-old bourbon to pay $99 for that's not – there's not value. No, not value there for me.
Said that the card that comes in the box, it does tell you the age of them.
Oh, it does.
Look at that again. Bourbon Brofessor said, any recommendations on Bookers? Have seen 2018-02 and 2017-10 and 2017-02. Honestly, the 2018 releases, the Kathleen's batch, the Backyard Barbecue.
I've heard good things about Kathleen's, and then the last 2017 was maybe Tommy's batch.
Which may have been that 2017-10.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've heard really good things about the Kathleen's batch.
The Kathleen's is phenomenal, and the 02 and 03. One of them's the Backyard Barbecue. I think the other one's the Kentucky Chew. Kentucky Chew may be number 4, and I'm missing number 2. But anyway, all 4 of those are phenomenal.
Really?
And I would take them over the No Hard Times.
Okay.
Week.
I was about to say this is the most recent. This No Hard Times. This is the most recent Bookers that I've got open. I've got another 2011 or 2012 Bookers that I've kind of got stashed away for hanging on to. But again, I go in a store and I'll see Kathleen's or whatever, and it's like this is going to be close to $90 walking out the door. And again, I've said it before. Everything to me goes back to like how many Russells can I buy for this money?
Right. How many 4 Roses can I buy for this?
So can I buy Russells and Roses in a liter 101? Because you always got to have 101 open, or do I want this one Booker? So
yeah, absolutely.
But this is good. This No Hard Times, 6 years, 10 months, 63.9. I mean, it tastes like really good bourbon to me.
It does. So I just looked up the Kathleen's batch, and it says 3% from the 7th floor of 9-story warehouse F, blah blah blah. But I'm still not seeing the proof on it. But Sip a While was 2017. Something about the book.
That might have been the one I was thinking of.
They don't like if you look up this No Hard Times, it's not on there. No clue why they do that, but
yeah, I think the website with all the detailed information is a relatively new addition. Obviously, that's Beam kind of paying attention to us, bourbon nerds that want to know, all the specifics of all the stuff.
So, I mean, we're supposed to do a whole segment on bourbon hunting and is it worth it? But I mean, are we both just in agreement that no is the answer?
Yeah, well, it all yes, but it all comes down to what you like. You know what I mean? And it's, the value in a bottle to you is, what am I willing to pay to have this available for me to drink?
Right. Which I mean is kind of what, my show is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one reason that I like what you're doing and support what you're doing, because people get so tied up and they've heard it's good, so they want it. Or Anthony Bourdain said Pappy Van Winkle's the best bourbon on the planet, and then within 6 months you couldn't get Pappy. But I can remember Pappy sitting on shelves.
Yep.
Hand to God, 2011, I was going to a horse race in Camden, South Carolina. We were running late to the party. We knew we had to grab a bottle to, it was a nice tailgate. Can't show up empty-handed. And Blanton's, and it was there on the shelf, stacked up. Elijah Craig 18 was there, stacked up. Blanton's was $42. And I remember looking and seeing, the Van Winkle, and it had this little velvet bag and all that other stuff. And I'm like, who's going to pay $80 for
that is absurd. No one's paid $80 for bourbon.
I will never do that. And I was 1,000% wrong, because I've done that on multiple occasions.
Cryptocurrency. What's this horse crap?
So it's, those bottles I've found, you're either going to get them one of three ways. You're either just going to walk into a store and it's there and it's on the shelf and it's at MSRP or close to it, and you have hit the lottery, the bourbon lottery, for lack of a better thing, and you go in and you buy it and you share it with your friend, or you pass it out, or drink it, you hoard it, you flip it, do whatever. Or you're going to buy it on the secondary market at an extremely inflated rate, or you're going to build a relationship with a store, which is another way of saying you're going to spend a bunch of money with them, so you're going to buy stuff that you might not necessarily want, but you don't want to go in, browse their shelves, and then walk out without buying anything.
Which I will say, in the past couple of years, I've done that approach, and that's still kind of my approach. You know what I mean? I have a few stores. I try and be loyal to them.
Yep.
The owners treat me great. They text me when stuff comes in. But that being said, like, one of them for sure, which is my closest one that I spend the most money with, they don't do a whole lot of business to get a lot of those super allocated stuff. So, like when I asked him about the new C918 Elijah Craig barrel proof, he was like, I talked to the distributor, we're not even eligible for it. Just simple. I was like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, they do get some other stuff. That's how I got some birthday bourbon, Kentucky Owl Rye, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's
you're going to pay for that Pappy one way or the other. You're either going to suck it up and pay. I don't even know what it is on secondary. I've got somebody can jump in the chat.
Up to like $900 at this point.
Okay, so you're going to go pay $900 for it on secondary, or you're going to build a relationship with a liquor store, and you're going to come in and you're going to browse the shelves. You're not going to see anything, and he's going to be like, "Oh, hey, I've got this Blade Bowen. You want to try it?" And you're like, "Yeah, I've heard. Okay." Or you're going to end up with Bob Dylan's whiskey or the Metallica whiskey, whatever. So you're gonna pay for that bottle one way or the other. You're gonna spend a bunch of money with a store to get to the head of that line, and there's a.
If we're being honest, though, I mean, would that be the best approach? Because if you do that, at least you've got a shit ton of whiskey sitting around, right?
I decided no. And when I first was getting into it, I would drive to every store every week and look for this and ask for that, and go in and maybe I'd buy something, maybe I wouldn't. And I just kind of figured out there's Columbia. I live in Columbia, South Carolina, so it's a fairly large city in a smallish state. And it didn't take me too long to figure out that there have been people doing this a lot longer than me that had relationships that I really couldn't replicate, in all honesty. That they were getting access.
You're like, hey, you have any Elijah Craig 18 year? And they say no, but what they really mean is
not for you. Not for you.
Exactly.
and and it really kind of rubbed me wrong to get lied to. I would much rather I'd come in and say, hey, you know, what do you look for? Birthday bourbon. I only got 3 this year, but I've really got to hang on to them from people that have been buying from me for a long time.
Cool.
I've got this, and if you tell me that, I've got no problem at all. But if you look me in the face and say, no, we didn't get any birthday bourbon this year, and it's like, I kind of know you did. You know what I mean? Like,
they got one from your store, so you're already lying to me. Just tell me, hey, I got to take care of my good customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And in defense of the retailers, people running these shops that's their job. They're sitting behind that counter, and they get guy coming in. Hey, you got any Weller? Hey, you got any this? Hey, you got any this? And the guy says no, and then he turns around and walks out of his shop. I can 1,000% understand why a Jamie Ferris or people that run shops that would say not selling to that guy. I understand it completely, which is kind of why I was like, I want to drink different bourbons and I want to drink really, really good bourbons. So
yep,
I don't just want to drink.
It's one of my stores that I go in fairly regularly. I try and go up there whenever I can, but it's an hour away. So, but I was in there and I was buying some stuff. Whenever I go there, I spend way too much money. But he's got so many store picks, and they're all phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Where is this? What store is this? Can you say it?
Elixir in Middle Tennessee.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Elixir and Carruthers. I mean, their store picks are just.
Phenomenal. Oh yeah. I've got some Nashville friends that help me out on that.
So I was like, hey, and I was just in buying stuff, and he looked at me, he was like, do you need any Weller 12? And I was like,
sure.
I could use one. I was like, honestly, do you have any 107? He was like, let me go look. And he came back with a bottle of OWA 107. And I was like, dude, I was like, I understand. You know what I mean? I really appreciate you offered me the 12, but honestly, I'd much rather have the 107. Like,
I would agree with that. But, so yeah, we keep going back to store picks. You and I always end up talking about the store picks because that's just, I think that's where the best value is in today's bourbon market. And that's kind of
that being said, I think that's where like a lot of the people that are super, super deep into this, you know what I mean? And that's where they are currently, and that's where, you have that 5% of the market that is, you know what I mean? They're on a different level. Then you have the mass, or, say 30% of the market. They are the nerds, you know what I mean? The connoisseurs, and then the rest of the people that they're just drinking Jack and
they're just showing up. They're buying Tito's, Jack.
Right. So we're not even going to worry about them right now, but let's worry about, and that 5% kind of seems to lead more or less the rest of the market. You know what I mean? They're that 1 or 2 years ahead of
the trends.
Right.
Or they're setting the trends.
A year ago, that was store picks. And right now, that's where all this stuff is. Like, I can't tell you, just a regular Four Roses pick or a Russell's pick. Elixir got in a Russell's pick that I was lucky enough to get one bottle of it.
Which one was that?
The Real King of Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got one. I haven't opened it yet. It's
my God, it's freaking phenomenal.
I've heard it's like a candy bomb. Just
it is. I mean, it's not overly sweet, but I mean, it is sweet and it's savory and it's a little bit of oaky. It's everything you want a bourbon to be.
Dude, I have been rat holing Warehouse B picks this year. I've got like 7 or 8 Warehouse B because Turkey rotates them. I don't know what their rotation is, but I think that they've used the term harvested. So they'll pick a warehouse and they'll harvest the prime barrels, and then it'll be out of rotation for a while. Like I know Camp Nelson right now, those 6 warehouses that are about an hour out of Lawrenceburg are coming into the rotation. So if you find a profile that you like, get on Instagram, network with people. If you like OESK or OESV, or you like Turkey Warehouse B or whatever, like when that comes out, find what you can, because it might be a couple, 3 years before it rolls back around.
Before that rotation's back in effect for the warehouse. So But what I want to know is like, where is things going from here? You know what I mean?
Armagnac.
The 32-year-old Armagnac.
That stuff's good. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. The couple that I've had have been really good.
I got a hold for me on a 27-year
nice
model, the Ellen Cantade or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, the line Cantata.
Yeah.
I had some back in September for the first time, and I nosed it, and it was just like sticking my face into a bag of brown sugar. Like that's just. It was just the sweetest, and it was good. I ain't gonna lie, it was really good. I might cheat on bourbon a little bit for some Armagnac.
You're not hopping on the rum train, but maybe some Armagnac.
No, rum's never really done it for me. Now I haven't had any of the really long age stuff or really the high end stuff. I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't know. A lot of that rum stuff shady as all hell too. Like
it really is. Like there's no. I bought a bottle of the Kirk and Sweeney 23-year.
Yeah,
which is on the better end of the whole shady part. Like they're pretty honest. It is 23 years. It's no coloring, no extra sugar, anything like that. But it is so sugary and sweet. I ended up giving it to a buddy. I was like, do you like it? And he was like, yeah. I was like, cool, take the bottle.
There you go. I need to get some Foursquare.
I tried to like it. I really did. I couldn't do it. I really couldn't.
I know, and a lot of it's 80 proof too. You know, kind of circling back to this barrel proof thing. Like once you kind of get a taste for drinking, you know, straight from the barrel, for lack of a better term, stuff, it's kind of hard to go back now. I say all that to say, does that say that I don't have any Evan Williams single barrel in my cabinet, or do I never drink less than that? No, no, there's plenty of nights where, you know, I want to drink something and not think about it too hard, or, you know, this or that. But once you kind of learn how to drink it this way and appreciate it this way, you know, going back to an 80 proof spirit, it's just not too high on my list.
Rarebird and Ryan Alves were saying that the Warehouse D.
Ryan, my man, for real. Cheers to you. He is true blue all the way through. One of my favorite people.
You're my boy, Blue.
Yep.
Did you move on, by the way?
I just picked up the Elijah Craig. I haven't tasted it yet. Just knows it. But yeah, Warehouse D. So I'll talk. I can't get on here and not talk too much. A little turkey.
Do it.
So Eddie Russell was in town a couple months ago, and you know I was talking to him about this and that. Warehouse B, which is my favorite at Turkey, not by a lot, but by some, is the highest elevation, and then Warehouse D is kind of by itself down by the river, and B and D have just been fire this year to me. Like they have there's been so many good picks come out of both of those warehouses. And I know there's some Camp Nelson coming into my market here fairly soon. Is kind of what the whispers are saying. A restaurant bar here in town that has a strong track record of picking turkey barrels. They've got one coming in. Dave at Rarebird has picked one. He picked one back in September that should be rolling in here at some point in time that a lot of people are excited about. So
go look at Bird 101 Patreon. Do it now.
So Russell's 2002, they all came from Camp Nelson. So if you're curious about that profile and you didn't get a 2002, you know, if you see some Camp Nelson picks in your area, give them a try.
So you're making noises over there.
So are we up to Elijah Craig?
Yeah, the Elijah Craig.
So this is B5. I've got the B517.
And I have the B518.
So this is the one that won all the awards, right? This is the one that they're now putting the whiskey of the year on the B518, even though that was like 6 or 7 or 3 or 4 Elijah Craig batches ago.
Right. Yep.
It's good, but this, of all the 3 that we've had tonight, this has more alcohol on the nose than the other 3 put together. Which that's not how this is supposed to work, because I'm 4 3 pours now into barrel proof stuff, and
see mine's the opposite. And I can say this now that I have probably at least over a case of the B518 in stock. I've been trading left and right for those B518s, man. I really.
I've got to. You got to send me a little taste so I can.
I will.
So I can figure out if I need to get on it. This is good whiskey. Like it's a lot of alcohol on the nose, but it's got what you want. It's got the oak, obviously, at 12 years.
Oak, cherries, vanilla, caramel.
It's got this kind of
a little bit of spice.
It's got some spice, and it's got this kind of like I don't want to say apple pie, but it's more like crust.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a buttery.
So one thing when you said buttery, what came to mind to me when I was smelling this, at least on my batch, is like the people that put like jam, like strawberry jam, cherry jam on like waffles or pancakes, like that.
Okay, I can kind of get that.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's
mind. I believe that'd be the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity from IHOP if you've ever been there at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. But I tried the 517 against the 518, and the 518's better. At least to me. I got a buddy over in North Carolina that put the B518 up against the George T. Stagg for like 4 or 5 of his buddies blind.
Really?
Every single person picked the Elijah Craig.
And that's the 18?
The B518 versus the George T. Stagg of 17.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, that just goes back to, I mean, is it worth it standing in line for 2 days for George T. Stagg?
Or with a little bit of, if you've got a relationship somewhere, or if you put a little bit of looking into it, like, you should be able to find Elijah Craig barrel proof if you're in a somewhat decent market, I would think. Like, I know C918 is out now. I saw one the other day, and I didn't buy it because I had some other.
We were actually at the distillery doing a barrel pick when that was getting bottled. So on the channel, I put up a quick video thing of our tour, and they had the beef or the C918 getting bought. Yeah. Dave at Rarebird 101 said, "There's 2 things that belong on waffles: maple syrup or chicken." Dave, where are you from, Dave? I gotta know because I know.
I know, but I don't want to say.
Just a state is all I'm looking for, not anything. Don't send your address on Facebook or on YouTube.
I think it's safe to say he's from the south part of the country.
Okay, yeah, I mean I'm in Tennessee, so right on the Tennessee-Alabama border. South Carolina is Mo's Bryant is drinking the B517, and I am drinking the B518 of the Elijah.
Yes.
So, man, I just get, for me, this just hits all the check boxes. You know what I mean? It really does.
So, you put out a video earlier today, or in the last day or two, of Old Ezra 7-year.
Yes.
And Old Ezra is a Luxco brand, which has recently opened a very cool distillery from all the videos. Haven't been there yet. But the Old Ezra 7 is a sourced bourbon, correct?
Yes, because I don't think the distillery has been open 7 years. So
yeah, it hadn't been open 7 years. And you obviously have come across a bottle. I was at a bottle share with some friends of mine earlier in the week, and somebody that had gotten one out of state. And I haven't done it side by side. I want to. Like, this is the last Elijah Craig barrel proof that I've got left. I had a bunch, and it magically got turned into wild turkey.
Right.
I don't know how that happened. But the Old Ezra 7-year fit more what I like than the Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Really?
Really. Well, I, 8 to 12 years, 7 to 11 years is kind of what I like. The B517 is not too oaky, but I have had some Elijah Craig barrel proof or even some of the old Elijah Craig 12 that had more oak than what I care for. Gotcha. And my proof sweet spot is kind of low 100s to 118, 120 or so. And again, fully disclosed, I like Russell's Reserve. I really Wild Turkey. I like Four Roses. I like MGP stuff. So that's kind of that 100 to 120 is that range. So when you start getting up into 127, 129, 130, I can like it and I can enjoy it, but that's just a little more proof sometimes than what I like. I really liked the Old Ezra 7. It's about, 117, 118 proof.
Yeah, it's 117.
117, it's 7 years old. It should be fairly available, and it's $40.
Yeah, $35-$40, which we're
less than 45 out the door.
If you go at it from that standpoint,
that's a lot to like.
It's barrel proof, age stated, 7 years for $35-$40. It's great. It really is.
There's a lot going on there to like.
If I was doing it blind, I would have no question that I would pick the Elijah Craig or the Blantons or even the Bookers over it. But when you start factoring in price and everything, I mean,
yeah, absolutely,
it's hard to beat.
Yep, and it is. And now, anybody out there watching, I don't know how many are, but I'm not saying that it's the 7 year belongs with these other bottles that we're talking about.
Hey, the Bookers is 7 year, 610, 6 years, 2 months.
610 on this, and I think the most recent is 6 years, 2 months. For me, 110, 105 to 120, that's the proof point that I tend to enjoy most.
Which, if we're talking about that, while we're doing the barrel proof, is it worth it? Proof-wise, the MGP stuff that's been coming out in the 9 to 11, 12 year at the 110, 115 proof.
Yep. That's all
needs and everything. The Blom brothers are just phenomenal.
Really, really good. I have a Total Wine here in Columbia, and it's gone now, and I bought about a case, maybe more. They had a Bellmead pick, and it was October of 2006, that LDI MGP run. It was cast strength at 100.7 proof, and it is just – it's phenomenal. It's great because it's cast strength bourbon. You get all those flavors, but it doesn't have some of that heat that you get on the 128, 130 plus proof stuff.
133.4.
And again, that's – I'm not saying one's better or one's worse or one's right and one's wrong. If you like Elijah Craig barrel proof and you like that 100 – have you ever had any of that 140 proof hazmat stuff?
So I was over at a buddy's house, and he's actually nicknamed the Bourbon Santa. Super nice guy. He's actually going to be on the show here soon. We're working out dates right now. They're just not working. So I was over at his house, and he was like, dude, have you tried this? Like the new, was it the Old Foods 11 year at that point? I was like, no.
Yeah.
And he was pouring it, and he was like, dude, have you tried this? And I was like, no. He's like, dude, have you tried, the new Kentucky Owl? Have you tried, all this stuff? It was like one barrel proof thing after another. I mean, they were little sips, but I mean,
yeah,
when you were doing them like that, they stack up pretty quick. And I was like, man, he had the 139.4 Elijah Craig, and I tasted it. It was probably after a dozen or so different tastings of other stuff. And it was just this magical thing happening in my mouth. It was like an orgasm of flavor and just everything melding together. And I was like, man, I really got to find one of those. But at the same point, did I like it that much because I was already drinking 120 to 130 proof, and that 140 proof just tasted that much better? because of the proof, or was it good because it was that much better?
Yeah.
Like right after that, I tried he poured me some of the William LaRue Weller of 2017. And it was really good, but I didn't like it quite as
much
as that Elijah Craig. Now, it was a really close second. We probably tried over a dozen different things in our lunch break.
Even better.
I didn't go back to work after that. But I was like, man, is the William, like, you know, as a first or second pour, would I like the William LaRue Weller more than that 139.4 Elijah Craig, or was the Elijah Craig just that much better? You know what I mean?
That's what I've got to do better about, because I'll have like two really good, you know, I'll think about it, you know, probably more than I should. And it's like, well, do I want to do roses tonight? Do I want to do Russells? Do I want to do Elijah Craig, this and that? And you have your first pour and you really get into it. You get your second pour and your third pour, you're like, yeah, at this point in time, I pulled everything out of the cabinet the other day, and then I've got this little like section. It's like, if you've had more than 2 pours, you have to drink one of these so you can make more space.
Right.
At number 3, it's like, okay, tastes pretty good. So if of these 4 that we've had, I just poured. I don't know if the camera saw it. I just poured another pour out of one of these 4. Have you gone back for seconds yet? And if you are, what's your favorite of what we've tasted?
I haven't yet. I still got some of the B518, but if I had to pick,
that was a stout pour.
It really was. That's like an 8.5 ounce pour, or not pour, not an 8.5 ounce pour, 8.5 ounce glass. It would be between the Elijah Craig and the Blantons for me.
Okay. I went back, and of everything that I've tasted tonight, I think I'm gonna say that the No Hard Times was my favorite. I think the nose on it is I think it's my. I might go back to the Blantons for a second, and I know this Elijah Craig B517 pretty well. This is I came across multiple bottles of it. I think I'm finishing my second one now. It's a really, really nice bourbon. It's
How much is it in your area, out of curiosity?
Elijah Craig barrel proof. When I was really picking up a bunch of B517 last summer, it was like 65. And there were 2 stores that I called, and I said, do you have it? And they said, yes. How much is it? 65. And then I got there, and then they wanted to charge me 75.
Oh.
And one store I bought it, and the second store they did it to me, because like I got back in my car and I had it on the front seat and I looked at it and I just felt like crappy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're like, I've done that. Like, even,
and I'm like,
I haven't even gotten to the car when we were up in Chicago, which they have phenomenal prices up there, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They had Russell's Reserve store picks for like $49.
Holy Dave, you hear that? We need to go to Chicago.
For real. Maybe it was 51, but either way, it was like right at $50 a bottle. And I was like, or maybe it was like 47, maybe.
Oh, jeez.
It was ridiculously low. And I walked out of this store, and I was with my brother. I was actually on a work trip. And I walked out of the store with 2 cases of bourbon. And like on the way to the car, I was like, what the is wrong?
Absolutely. I just remember I called this store. I'm like, hey, do you have Elijah Craig barrel proof? They're like, yeah, we got Elijah Craig. And I'm like, no, not Elijah Craig barrel proof. Put the phone down and you hear him poking around like, yeah, we got this. How much is it? $64.99. Okay, great. And I get there and I'm like, I'm here for the Elijah Craig barrel proof. Talked to you 20 minutes ago. 75. And I was like, you told me 64, and I haggled no whatever.
Because
and I bought it and I paid their price, and I just remember walking out of the store just feeling like that I shouldn't want this bad enough to take that kind of bullshit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, do I want this because it's getting all these good reviews, or do I want this because of that? and it was kind of a turning point moment for me in this. It's kind of like when I passed on Blanton's for the first time, like we don't
all the time.
We don't get that much in South Carolina, and everybody likes it, and it's a cool bottle, and it's first single barrel, and and it's one of the first nice bourbons that a lot of people have tried. But I just remember, traveling from South Carolina to Florida, and I was actually by myself. I didn't have my wife or kid, which means I can stop in as many liquor stores as I want to, which is not the case when the family is with me.
Right. Yeah.
And I stopped into a place, and it's like, yeah, we got Blanton's for this, and it was a fair price for it. And I'm like, yeah, I want to see what's at the next store. I can come back to that, or So I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm glad that somebody tried, ripping me off on it, but it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to drive all over town. I don't want to have people tell me this price and then tell me another one because somebody's got interest in it. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right. And that's
which ties back to our bourbon hunting thing.
I've passed up on plenty of Blanton's at fair prices. I've passed up on plenty of Weller Special Reserve at fair prices. I asked them, they have it sitting behind the counter, but it was in plain view. And I'm like, hey, how much you got on that? They're like, oh, like $22.99. I'm like, that's a good price, but I got a few bottles back there, so I'll let the next guy take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I mean?
Now, does that mean, do I not stop off in stores when I'm traveling, or if I'm in a new town, or I'm, somewhere and it looks like a little mom and pop shop that's out of the way, that's maybe not frequented by people that are looking to spend $50 plus on a bottle of bourbon?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I stop there. But does that mean that if they do have something I'm kind of interested in at a higher than I want to pay price? No, I'm not buying that. And anybody that's getting into this, I'm set price limits on what you want to pay for stuff. Don't get in there and see something that you want and panic and pay more than you want, because
you'll feel bad about it later.
You're 100% gonna feel bad about it later.
Real quick, Mose was asking what was in our flight. Stag Junior, we both had a different batch.
Yep.
Blanton's bottled in bond, or straight from the barrel. We both had a different batch. Booker's, we both had the same one, No Hard Times, and Elijah Craig. So, but I'm with you, man. Like you pick a price on what you'd be willing to pay for something. Like, honestly, I usually keep a bottle of Blanton's on hand, mostly for when people come over, they want to try it, and I'm like, here, you feel free. Honestly, like I usually keep one as a backup, and that's it. Like
I had a whole bunch saved up, and I just ended up. And it's nice bourbon. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to run it down. I like it. I enjoy it. There's some really, really great store picks. A friend of mine out on the West Coast picked a barrel, and I think I'm supposed to be getting one of those bottles. I'm looking forward to it. But it's one that always makes a nice gift to anybody. Anybody that's into bourbon's not going to turn down a pour of Blanton's.
Oh yeah, and it's a great gift.
Yep.
It's a great gift. But when you walk into a store and you see Blanton's for $65 or Stag Junior, Booker's, or Elijah Craig Barrel Proof for $65, which one are you going to go with?
Yeah, either that or you walk into a store and you see it for $125, and then you're like, I'm not going to give you any money for any of your bottles because I'm not going to support that crappy culture.
Right. I mean, there's a store right around the corner from me that has the one I was talking about that usually doesn't get the highly allocated stuff. And I say highly allocated, but they usually don't even get Blanton's in very often. He's got one on the shelf right now, but it's like $85. And I'm like, I'll let someone else grab it and they'll probably feel good about it, but I'll pass. Like
85 is way more than I'm going to pay for Blanton's. Now, if it's a really kick-ass store pick or this and that, that's a different thing. But I'm just talking about
off the shelf,
walking into the store and seeing it on the shelf.
Yep. He's got some E.H. Taylor small batch up there. I think it's like $60 or $65.
Hey, no.
I bought a case from him not that long ago for $43. $43 a bottle. And I bought pretty much an entire case, 6 bottles. And I was like, dude, that's not. And he's like, oh, the distributor, is the one that sets the prices and stuff. And, he's like, I don't have any control over it. I was like, you need to call your distributor because they shouldn't be charging you that much for it.
I say the guy down the road's got it for less than that.
Right. So, and I mean, I really want to believe him because, like I said, I bought it for $43. He had it sitting on the shelf for $43.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like, he couldn't hold on to it. And he was like, well, I could, get an extra $20 for it. Like, so, I don't know if it really was the distributor that is doing that because, they feel that they can do that. So, a store in Omaha had Blanton's for $200. Ugh, no, not in 1,000 years.
No.
I have some very old Barton 90 proof before.
Yep, I was about to say if he gets to the if he gets to that point, let's just cross our fingers that 101 can still be had at a fair price.
Right. I mean, I'll drink some. Definitely some 101, but I mean, even cheaper than that, some Heaven Hill bottled and the Elijah Craig.
I was about to say the 6-year bottled and bond is gone now. That's a unicorn now.
Bottled and bond is like $13 a bottle, and it's there's nothing wrong with it.
I like the single barrel more than the bottled and bond, which is weird for somebody that likes higher proof like I do. But Evan Williams single barrel's that's a nice pour, and for being lower proof, obviously it's at 86. And it was 10 years for the longest time, and then it kind of dipped, and it's starting to come back up. But that's a very consistently priced and a pretty consistent quality on that. So I'll always kind of like some Elijah Craig single barrel or Evan Williams.
Oh no, I'm with you all the way. I mean, and he actually Bourbon Brofester said they still have it.
Good, I hope so.
I bet they do. Like if it's not the day that something is released, you know what I mean? And you walk into a store and they have, Pappy 23 sitting on the shelf.
There's a reason.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's a store just north of Atlanta, and they had some old Rip and a couple other things sitting on the shelf. It was in a case, but I was like, and it was like I said, it was like an hour north of Atlanta, and I was like, what's the catch? Like, well, what are you asking on that?
Yeah.
139. And I was like, okay. And he's like, but you have to buy 2 cases of 1792 small batch with it because that's how they get their allocation. And I was like, so that's where the catch is.
I have, in 2 instances, I have left purchases on the counter at the cash register when it's like, oh, you see something behind the counter, what else you have? It's like, oh, I've got this. Oh, how much you want for it? Well, I want $6.99 for that. And it's just like, I don't need this bottle bad enough to support what you're doing. You know what I mean? And it's kind of on us as bourbon consumers to not support that. To not support that kind of crap.
I agree completely.
There's a store on the way to St. Simon's. Obviously, I live in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, so I drive that bit of 95 on a pretty regular basis. And there's a spot in St. Simon's, and I walked in, and I was like, and I saw their BTAC up there. I'm like, okay, kind of it's overpriced. And then they had like Booker's Rye for like $14.99.
Oh my God! No, not in 1,000 years.
And I'm kind of, being cool. I'm not drooling over their stuff. I'm not really talking to them. Hey, what are you looking for? Just going to a party trying to find something. And they had some Old Scout single barrels at a pretty good price that I was kind of made up my mind to buy.
Right.
And then I got their Four Roses. I was looking for a barrel pig. They didn't have it. But in the line of Four Roses small batch, they had a 2016 or 2017 small batch limited edition. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Somebody screwed up on this.
Right.
And I took it up to the register, and they were like, that'll be $4.89 because I had that, and I had the Smooth Amblers that I was going to buy. And I was just like, Nope. Sorry. They're like, what about these? And I'm like, no, we're good. Have
Yeah,
fun selling that for $500.
I think I've talked about it before. There's a store right by my work that does get some of the BTAC stuff and whatnot. And all year long, I was like, look, dude, I don't care about the Pappy. I don't care about, whatever. I said, I just want a George T stack. I was like, that's all I want. Spent a good bit of money in there and stuff. And they called me and they're like, hey, we got some George T Stag. And it was right when it got released in Middle Tennessee. And I was like, cool, I'm on my way. I left work and I headed over there. And I was like, please don't be Stag Junior. Like, please don't be Stag Junior. So I get there and he pulled it out. It was a straight up George T Stag. He still had the paper on it and everything. And I was like, cool, let's do this. And he went to ring it up, $500. I was like, nope.
No, sorry.
Sorry, dude, not happening. I said, I can go get this for $400 shipped to my door right now. So sorry, like not happening. And I went in there the next day and I was like, any better? And he's like, oh, I could do 400 on it. I was like, no, dude.
Nope. Sorry.
I said, look, retail's $90. I said, I will give you $200 cash
right now.
I said, you can ring it up for 90, keep the extra $100. I don't care how you do it. Like, pocket the $100 bill. Don't care. But I'm not giving you more than $200 for it. It's just not. It's not worth it. It's not happening.
Is it still sitting there?
No. Someone bought it. I went back for a few weeks and tried to work on him, and he would not budge from that $400 price. And eventually, after a few months, I went back and he said that it wasn't there anymore. So someone bought it. I hope they didn't pay $440 for it after tax. But
which really makes me think, and I know we kind of bang on these retailers that put these markups on there. It's like, are they hurting for $200, $300 that much?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
from a retailer standpoint, obviously, demand at this point far exceeds supply.
Yeah.
Far exceeds.
So
either A, raffle it off. B, say, hey, we're releasing everything at this point. First come, first serve, which is when people get in line a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
And or give it to their best customers. And I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would agree with that. I really try and look at it from their side. And if 99 people come in and say no and one comes in and says yes, then I guess in their mind they were right because they got somebody to pay $450 or $500 for a bottle of George T. Stag.
Yeah.
It's sexy.
I'm going to pour some. Don't judge me.
It's all right. See, this is what I'm so bad about. It's like I've had 7 pours. I'm going to go get this. It's just like tastes great.
Well, I wanted to, and I haven't done it yet. I wanted to put it up against the B518, and I've had just enough liquid courage to say, screw it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, of course, I see some guys and like their 2017 is still like up to here after they've opened it. And the 2016 is like here, and the 27 or 15 here. And
I am kind of curious about the Eagle Rare. I think this year it's 17 years and 101 proof.
Which is normal, yeah.
If I come across one of those, I'll up to a certain price point. So,
right, like for me, $200 for BTAC is that's my limit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think that's fair.
Which at retail, in Tennessee is like a 10% tax. So
yeah.
You're paying $220 after tax. But yeah, like after tax, $250, not happening. So on the nose, sorry you don't have a pour of this.
It's all right.
I definitely got to give it to the Stag on the nose. It's just the Elijah Craig has much more alcohol on it, like you were talking about. I shouldn't say a lot more, but it is. You
more
do
prominent,
like nose hair singe.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's really good. Obviously, I've had it before, and
Yeah.
but
And is that 2017? Is that last year's?
yeah, it is.
Okay.
I haven't seen any BTAC in Middle Tennessee yet, so
Yeah, I think it almost all goes to lottery here. It goes to, I've had one sample of stag, and it was pretty damn good.
yeah, it is. I mean, it does get bottled. Excuse me, in that bottle for a reason. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think we're definitely at that. We're past that 1 hour mark.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's 12:30 in South Carolina.
It's 11:30 here.
Yeah. So what's our verdict on all this, Kyle? Is cask strength worth the premium that you have to pay for it?
It depends on what it is. Like for me,
absolutely,
I'm not paying more than say like 2x what the normal bottle goes for. You know what I mean? Like Boss Hog for $500. I'm out.
Nope.
I'm out.
Absolutely.
I tasted it at a bottle share, and I like the WhistlePig 12 and 15 year way better than I did that
really
Boss Hog Black Print.
I mean, I think it comes down to, and again, this is one reason that I like coming on with you and talk to you. I watch your videos. You know, taste lots of stuff, but drink what you like. You know what I mean? But don't, realize there's lots of other options out there if what you like is unobtainable for you. You know what I mean?
Right. And how much, like, I want to know how much of it is like I just want to be cool and post on Instagram and Facebook factor.
I think there is a ton of that.
Check me out. I paid $800 for it, but I'm not going to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it pisses me off. Like, not, and it shouldn't, because I shouldn't care what other people do on the internet. But it's like, you see somebody in July put up a picture of stag or pappy or whatever, and it's like, it's out there, guys. Keep hunting. It's like, quit pissing around, man. You either paid somebody in a store $800 for that everybody else has walked in there and looked at that bottle and thought about buying, said no, or you bought it on a secondary situation, and now you're like, oh yeah, I just found this stag out in the wild in July, 8 months after it was released. Like,
right.
I just no, I don't have time for that, man.
I will say though, a lot of times it seems like that happens in Texas. So maybe those, the middle of nowhere stores in Texas is where it's at.
Well, it's a great thing that my sister-in-law is getting married in Texas next October, probably in a football weekend. That's all right. I'm going to see if I can drive to Texas and pick up all this Weller 12 that apparently is like clogging up the gutters down there, from what they say.
Right.
So, all right, man.
So real quick, between the George C. Stag and the Elijah Craig, I'd probably have to give it to the Stag. I really.
Okay.
That being said, though, if you're paying secondary prices $400 versus $80, I'd take the Elijah Craig all day long.
It's a different animal when you look at it that way.
Right. Yeah. Like, is it better? Of course, right now it's not blind, so I know that this is
which one's Stag and which one's Elijah.
So that may have definitely something to do with it. But it is just a little more smoother. But is it 4 times as good? No. Nope. And that's where we go back to the store picks. You know what I mean? And the Russells, the Four Roses, and lately for me, the Knob Creek. Those 3 have just been kind of
where it's at. Absolutely. Hey, next time you want to do this, you want to do Four Roses, you want to pick a couple of yeasts and get into them and talk about labels and teach the folks about that?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Absolutely. All right, Kyle, always enjoy it. Always appreciate it. And enjoy that stag, my man.
Yeah, it's closed up for the night. I got a buddy that he waited in line with me for 2 days to get it. And ended up getting one too, but it's gone.
How do you take a bathroom break in a 2-day wait in line?
Honestly, the people there were really cool.
It's like, hey man, I got to go to Taco Bell and get some chalupas and
like
take a whiz.
You know what I mean? Like you showed up and they gave you a physical number. The guy that was running it,
okay,
just a guy in line.
Yeah,
but he had printed out like the store logo and the number, and he was like, "Oh, you're number 6 and number 7." So it was like they were really chill about it. It was like, if you get a call from your wife and you got something you got to do, like go do it. It's not
handle it.
You know what I mean? You got to go get food. Go get food. You got to go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom. Like it's not a thing. It's
not like you got to be standing there the whole time.
Yeah, apparently down in Birmingham, like they got a whole different system. They have teams and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like, they have muster times, and like at least one person from your team has to be there at like, Thursday at 6 o'clock. And as long as one person is there, like your whole team gets credit for it. And so they have like their grandmothers and stuff on the list and all this stuff. Like,
to hell with all that. Any of you boys in Alabama got to do that. I feel sorry for you.
Right. And I'm like, I'm out on that whole thing. But am I waiting in line this year for 2 days? No. It's just not worth it at this point for me. It's cool to have it, up here on the shelf and stuff. And I would love to have, a Pappy 15 or 20 or 23 even on the show. Because I think if, we did Pappy 15 or Pappy 20 blind, then
that'd be fun.
This is, $110 bourbon, and people would flip their shit because it wasn't $1,500 that, they paid on secondary for it.
I can pretty much assure you if a Pappy 20 or 23 ever came into my possession, it would turn into Dusty 8 101 Wild Turkeys with a sudden quickness that would
with haste.
with haste, like you would not believe. So.
Right, I've thought about that. Like, it's good, but it's also worth $1,000. So
yep,
that's a lot of bottles.
Well, you put a bottle on a table and $1,000 cash money on the other side of the table, I can tell you what I'm walking out of the room with.
Right.
So,
well, all right, bud. Well, I appreciate it, Bryant. It's
always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me on and appreciate you taking time.
Absolutely. Text me after this. I got something for you. So
absolutely.
Anyway, appreciate you guys. Check us out. Instagram, Patreon, Facebook. Bryant's on Instagram, Bryant_on_bourbon.
That's it.
On Instagram, check him out. We're Bourbon Blind on everything. Go check us out. Actually, Bryant is he's our newest.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate what y'all are doing for bourbon culture, and decided to get behind it.
We definitely appreciate it, man. We really do. So that being said, guys, appreciate you. And drink blind.
Absolutely. See you, Kyle.
See you, bud.